This is how to become a millionaire overnight. I'm going to walk you through a property that I am actually personally doing right now, okay? And I'm going to explain normal investor would do versus what I'm doing, and then you can see the huge contrast and huge difference. The way that I do it is a lot more riskier, but it also means that you require far less money, and at the end of the project, I will be 10xing my money. So the property that I'm doing right now, the project that I'm doing right now, it is a old heritage warehouse and it's completely vacant. So once upon a time, there was some sort of factory in there, but they vacated years ago and just been left derelict. The concept here is we're gonna change it into a bit of a hub, a bit of like a grounds of Alexandria. All right, so if you've ever been there, you'll know that it used to be some old derelict warehouse, which they've then transformed into a nice sort of restaurant, retail, sort of entertainment precinct. So same concept here in this property that we're doing. The particulars of the property is it is 1,200 square meters in total size. And if it's done right, we can probably split it into 3 different tenancies, okay? So tenancy 1, which is gonna be about 600 square meters. We've got tenancy 2, which is probably going to be about 400 square meters. And then tenancy 3 is going to be about 200 square meters. Okay? And basically it's a box. If this is a top-down view, we're basically going to cut it a little bit like that. Okay, so that's tenancy 1, that's tenancy 2, and that's tenancy 3. That's kind of what it's going to look like. All right. Now, by our estimation, if we refurbish this property correctly, it should rent on average probably around, it should probably rent for about $250 per square meter, okay? Which would give us, what rent it's going to give us? It's going to give us about $300,000 in rent. If we then sell it at a 6% cap rate or yield, what's that property worth? 5 million. Okay, 5 million. All right, so that's the end goal. Okay, so we want to turn basically a big box, we want to spend a little bit of money subdividing it into 3 tenancies of 6, 4, and 200 square meters, rent it out on an average of $250 per square meter. And if we can achieve this rent, the end value of the property will be worth about $5 million. Now, there's a lot of moving parts here. Okay, number 1 is what can we buy it for? Number 2, who's going to lease the property and pay this sort of rent? And number 3, how much is it going to cost to do the renovations? Okay, so this is where the interesting part comes in. So we can probably buy this for $1.2 million. That's the asking price. Okay, and the reno is probably going to cost around $2 million. So which means the total cost is going to be about $3.2 million. But I'm looking at selling the property for 5, right? So the net profit here is about 1.8 million. Does the numbers make sense so far? Okay, so the question now is, how do I come up with 1.2 million to buy a vacant property that's got nothing in it? Where am I going to come up with $2 million for renovation? And how long is it going to take? The traditional way of doing it is somebody will go to the bank and say, hey, I want to buy a $1.2 million property. The bank's going to say, well, you need to put in, at least 30% deposit, and then the rest can come from the bank, right? So you've got 30% deposit. Yep, let's call it 400K, and that's your cash. And then the rest is going to come from the bank. Let's call it 800K. Yep, We need stamps and all that, but we'll exclude that for this sort of demonstration, right? That's typically what you need to buy this property. For the reno, the bank's not going to lend you $2 million to do the reno, so you need to come with $2 million cash, right? So which means in order for you to do this, you need $2.4 million cash in order to pull this off. I'm going to show you how to do it with $100,000. First of all, it's all about how you structure the deal, okay? That's the most important part. So what we're going to ask for when we're buying the property, we're going to say to the Mr. Seller, hey, do you need the money urgently? No. Great. I'll pay you full price. I'll pay you $1.2 million at your asking price, but I want a long-term settlement. I want 18-month settlement. Okay? So the deal is, okay, I'll give you the asking price of 1.2. But in exchange, I want an 18-month settlement. But I'll put down 5% deposit. Okay, so I put down 5% deposit, which equals 60K. So I've just bought the property, I've secured the property for $60,000 for 18 months. So what am I going to do now? So during that 18 months, because I've got a bit of time on my hands now, so during the 18 months, there's a lot of work to do, okay? During 18 months, I need to first of all get a DA for the reno. I need to lease the property, lease it out. And that's gonna cost me probably around 30 grand to do, okay? So the DA for the reno, what I need to get an architect, I need to get a town planner, I need to submit plans, and blah, 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 okay? So that's gonna cost probably around 30K to do. Once I've got these plans drawn up, because the great thing about architects is they could draw up really nice plans, really nice renders. I could put together a nice marketing material and then I can start marketing it, okay? And then for me to lease it out, I probably need to spend maybe about 10 grand in marketing fees, okay? So I need to appoint an agent, I need to put it on the internet, spend some bit of marketing money. So the idea is, within that 18 months, I want to get the DA approved and get a pre-commitment from 3 tenants, okay? I want to get a pre-commitment. From tenants. So who are these tenants? It's probably a restaurant, it's probably a cafe, or probably some sort of office user. And then what they're gonna do when they pre-commit is they're gonna sign a lease with me. The lease is gonna say $300,000 in rental income. So once I've secured the lease, let's say I get this part done within the 18 months, I can now find a buyer for the property. So what am I selling? I'm selling the lease. So I'm going to the market with a lease that's worth 300K. And I know that someone will be happy to pay $5 million for it. But that doesn't do me any good because I still need to deliver the product. I still need to refurbish the product. I still need to, renovate and deliver on it. So what I would do is I would sell this property to an investor via what we called a fund through. Sell via fund through. So what does that mean? So instead of the buyer paying me $5 million on settlement, he pays it in installments. Okay, so first of all, he might pay me $2 million to settle the land. Okay, so stage one. Okay, maybe stage one, and this is obviously something that we didn't negotiate. So maybe stage one is $2 million. So that's going to then allow me to settle the property from the previous owner, and then start paying a builder to start renovating the property. And then we might have 4 stages of payments. Okay, we've got stage 2, 3, and 4. And then stage 2 could be, I don't know, 700,000. Stage 3 could be 700,000. Okay, and then the balance comes in stage 4 when the whole thing is completed. Okay, which is what 1.6 million. But I know with this amount, that's enough for me to settle the land, settle the property, and do the reno. And that's how I'm able to do this deal with only putting 100 grand down. And that's my profit. That's a profit right there. So it's 60x. It's risky because any part of this process can go wrong, right? Any part of this process can go wrong. If the DA takes too long and it eats up all the 18 months, then if I can't lease the property out within the 18 months, But the good thing is, 18 months is a lot of time. And if I execute properly, and I execute the DA properly, I execute the lease campaign properly, I should be able to get a pre-commitment from tenants, because that's the most important thing, is getting 3 tenants to pre-commit to the property. Once the lease is signed, I can then take that to an investor, and then I can then sell it via fund through using this method.
And how often do you find a buyer that's going to be okay with fund through? At least investing in development essentially.
It's basically buying off the plan. Yeah. But what they're buying is they're buying the lease.
Yeah.
They're buying the lease. The lease is already locked in. It's legitimate.
It's like a rental guarantee.
It's a rental guarantee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's basically what they're buying.
So commercial rental guarantee plus development.
Well, it's basically they're buying something that's already pre-leased. Yeah, it's already pre-leased. Once the construction is completed, the tenant's going to move in and start paying rent. Pretty straightforward from that perspective. The benefit that the buyer has with this structure is that they only pay stamp duty on the $2 million. So they actually save whatever it is.
And why do they pay just that?
Well, because they're selling on the land first, and then they're paying for the construction as it gets completed. So alternatively, if I don't do the fund through, I just sell the property as it is. Okay? So what that means is, we know that the end value of the property is worth $5 million based on the lease. Okay, so this is exit strategy number 2. We know that a developer typically wants 20% margin, right? That means that the total cost for them to acquire this property is no more than $4 million all in. So we know that reno is going to cost $2 million. That means they can afford to buy the property that I've just packaged together for $2 million. And then if I bought it for 1.2, I made 800 grand profit. This is the safety net option. So I don't make 1.6, I make 800,000. right? And I'm selling this to a developer as a package deal. So the best case scenario is you can sell it as a fund through, so you do all the work and then you get 1.6 million. The backup is to sell it to a developer as a package deal and you get 800 grand, which is still not bad for a day's work. So that's how you become a millionaire overnight.
Right, but something goes wrong. How much are you just going to use it? So you would just lose the one.
Lose 100K at a time and my reputation. So it's really good for people that have a higher risk tolerance and have a lot of time.
And doing this, like for the 1.2 mil, obviously giving the 5% deposit, that's a personally directly negotiated with the vendor.
Yeah.
So that's not like you go to the bank and you borrow it now. So that means you haven't even initiated the borrowing conversation.
I never have a conversation with a bank. Yeah, the bank doesn't even come into play. Yeah. Third option, which is the least desirable option in my opinion, is you actually go to the bank for a construction loan. Okay, so because we know the end value is 5 million, some banks for a construction loan lend up to 70% LVR on the end value. So a bank might give you $3.5 million. So that will be just enough for you to settle the land and do the construction. But then you got to pay interest on that, right? So that eats into your profit. So there could be 300 grand worth of interest payments there. Yeah, 300-400 grand worth of interest payments. So, interest payments could be, let's call it 500K, because you've got your establishment fee and all that type of shit. So you're gonna pay the bank back 4 million, right? When everything's said and done. So you're left with probably around 700. No, you're left with 1 mil. Yeah. So you're left with 1 mil. But it's a lot riskier because you're getting a loan from the bank, and the bank might not lend you money. So if the valuation comes down to 4, yeah, that's it. So if you want to learn more about how to structure these really lucrative commercial property deals, then reach out. If you want to learn how to put these lucrative commercial property deals together, stuff that you'd never learn at school and that people won't teach you, then definitely reach out. Also, don't forget to subscribe.